Okay, ceramic friends, I am back, and now we are going to work on a pinch pot. I have a little bit bigger pieces of clay instead of one block that you got initially to split in two to make your attachments. Now we're going to use 2 blocks. So I'm going to leave these kind of to the side. If you're in a real working situation, we don't want to leave clay out because it will dry up very quickly, but we are going to need some extra clay in addition to this for our footing. So we're going to do our pinch pot. I'm going to start by kind of wedging the clay, just making sure that it's aligned and ready to go. And again, this clay is really good coming out of the bag, so we're pretty lucky in that aspect. And with this pinch pot, it's going to be a little bit easier because I don't have to worry as much. It's going to be a little bit, instead of being smaller, it's going to be a little bit bigger. So I would say this is like a baseball size, probably not quite as big as a baseball size, bigger than a racquetball, but smaller than a baseball size. Anyway, basically you're going to dive your thumb inside, and of course if you have nails there is going to be a little bit of an issue, but we'll deal with it. So you start by pinching. You're basically going to go, and you are going to get nails, clay underneath your nail. It's just a thing, so just deal with it. If you're not comfortable with that, then use your knuckle and just start going around. But thumbs, the biggest thing to remember is thumbs stay on the outside. Thumbs stay on the inside. You can tell I'm still not feeling all that 100%. Fingers on the outside, thumbs on the inside. Fingers on the outside, thumbs on the inside. And we're just kind of gently pressing and going around. And of course, we don't want to let our rim get much thinner than our little finger. So I'm really kind of at that point already, but I do still have a lot of material. I can feel it, it's still heavy. Once this is evenly dispersed, once we've pinched enough on the sides and the bottom, we're going to feel that that weight actually evens out. So I'm just trying not to mess around too much with the rim, but I am feeling in areas. It's interesting, your fingers are going to begin to read the clay, and once you make that connection, you're going to be able to problem solve a lot just by touch of the fingertips to the clay, which is kind of interesting once it happens, but it takes a little bit. So basically I'm kind of rounding, and as I'm going, I'm smoothing and whatnot. I'm really trying to stay away from this rim because I am seeing it starting to crack a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and reinforce it while I'm thinking about it, because I don't want any crack attack again. Crack is whack, and you can just use water. You can use slip as well. It's no problem. It's just one of those things. So I just want to make sure that those cracks kind of stay away until I'm ready for them. Which I'm really never ready for cracks, but it's one of those things. So I'm just going to continually kind of pop around and do this. Pinching, just kind of evening out. And I can feel that I have thicker areas right in here and thinner areas on the sides. The areas on the sides that are thinner, they just need to stay thin. But I kind of ignore those and work around to the spots that I can feel that are thicker. I'm gently pressing. I'm not using Hulk strength. I'm really being as gentle as I possibly can. If you feel like your pinch pot is getting a little bit too wide, you can always collar it, and I kind of referred to briefly on that with our vase. When we're doing parts of our vase, you can kind of collar it by kind of pinching it, going inward a little bit. And keep in mind, the pinch pot doesn't have to be round. You can make it square, you can make it any shape you wish. It's completely up to you what shape you want it to be, but just keep in mind that will kind of have to be determined. And because it's such a plasticky state, we're going to have a little bit of challenges, but that's okay. So we're going to just keep going around. I think I'm going to make mine more squared for this purposes. Okay. And also, while I'm doing this on the table, it's kind of spinning. It is creating kind of a flatter edge. Got to be cognizant of that. You don't want it to get crazy in there. going to go ahead and start taking my tool to kind of smooth out the inside, as I do not want any of that nonsense in there. I'm pretty picky about that. Some people aren't. I am. So I'm trying to get it just as smooth as possible, because this is a bowl I intend to either eat out of or drink out of, put a little snack in, something. So I want it to be just as nice and smooth as possible. So rib is really to take care of where my nails have gotten in the way. Okay, and I'm going to shape it back to my square-ish kind of look. I will address the rim. It's just, I'm going to wait a little bit on that one. I'm going to leave it upside down for just a minute, and then we got to think about footing. So with footing, there's a couple different ways we can think about this. We can do a coil, which is like one of the easiest things to do. Just do a coil in your hands, and you wrap it around, and that's an easy footing that you can put. Now, if the footing is too small, like this one, then basically it probably will end up falling over. So we want a little bit more clay than that. And again, the coil, this is going to be the next project that we work on. I'm going to be showing you a video of how indigenous peoples made some clay, and they used a lot of coils in their construction. So you're going to be able to see that in just a few minutes. You can see, or days, next week sometime. And I can make this a square, or I can make this a circle. I'm just going to make it a circle for right now. I do need to score because these two parts are touching. And just press those together. And then I'm going to score on here where I want this to be. Now, if you don't want to do a circle, if you want to just do little feet, like little circles, you can do that. You just got to make sure that you score them. All right. Obviously, add the slip. That makes a big difference. And put that on there. 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending. For our purposes, I'm just going to use the noodle. Make sure I got my slip. I've already scored around here. And then I'm gently going to press that down, just ever so gently. And then I'm going to begin the blending. Now, my top side doesn't look so great right now, so I'm going to address that later. But right now we have this spot, this area where this is kind of open. This is going to invite air to come in and just peel away. So we don't want that to happen. So we're going to take this tool, and you can take this tool too. Let's round it kind of like our fingertip or the edge of here. And we're going to take some of this material, trying to get the angle right, some of this material, and kind of smush it down. All right. So instead of having that 90 degree, it almost looks like we've kind of filled it in. I'm going around and attaching that foot. An important thing, a lot of people try to put the foot over here. That's more like a belt. You definitely want a foot to be on the bottom of the pot. And then you'll balance it out in just a second. But by doing this, we're filling that in. We don't see the attachment line, and that's going to work really well for our piece. Okay, so I'm going around and do that, and you must do the inside as well, because the inside's a little bit smaller. I'm not sure I can get this tool in here. So I'm going to use the smaller one. Get in there and see the slip is in there, and it's definitely helping us out. One thing I like to do as well is once I'm finished with my piece, I like to coat the entire piece in slip. Just kind of paint it. It kind of like gives it a primer. If you guys have ever painted a car or anything like that, you always start with a primer layer, and it just helps adhere, make things for a nice even surface. So with this, I'm having a little challenge. I'm gonna have to figure out a way I can smooth that out. There we go, much better. And this excess slip we're going to want to wipe away. You don't want that in there. We're just trying to make sure that we don't have too much of trouble. Okay, so inside, outside. Once this is smoothed, completely smoothed, like I said, you're going to want to take a paintbrush and or some slip. I'm just going to do this really quick. See if I can't get some in there. Okay, and then we're going to do our pinch pot. Now, I really prefer this to be nice and smoothed. It's not as smooth as I would want it to be, but I'm just making more of a mess by messing with it. So I'm going to say kaput to it soon. Once I have this area addressed, then I can go back to the rest of the pot itself. I also like to kind of press it down on the table, make sure that we're even. Go back to my kind of square. And on this, you're going to want to make sure somewhere, some way, how you have your name and period 2, 4, or 5 on it. So I'm going to always do mine 007 for Bond. And you can use a tool like this. You can use a pen, a ballpoint pen. You will want to address those boogers later, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. But in essence, we have our pinch pot, and what's left to do is just really finish it and make it kind of look nice. We check our profile. It's a little off center, but for our purposes, it'll do. All right, any questions, give me a shout out. I will be around to each table checking progress.